And good evening, everyone. Welcome to TSSR Weekly. This is episode 6. Time flies when you're having fun. I'm Dwayne Hewlett. Kenny Suter alongside, and we started on time, and the show's going to be a little shorter today. I think with everything going on right now, we have decided to take a break from an interview, an in-house interview other than us. So we will have First and 10 with Coach Rodis as Jeff Borders was able to catch up with him. And we will have highlights thanks to young Mr. Suter.
Oh, yeah.
Always fun, right?
Oh, wonderful.
We had a long day Saturday.
Yeah.
Miles and I were at the gym at 7:30. I did 7 volleyball games. Kenny did a volleyball game and a football game. Miles videoed 5 volleyball games and a football game. BPC, however, is playing probably some of its best volleyball it's played all year, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah, you can see it definitely from the highlights with 2 wins in that tournament that we do have 4 highlights later on. They're doing a lot of good things well, especially kills and hits by especially Jana Lantini and Elizabeth Gilfillan, both playing really well.
Yeah, Courtney Oakman had a good game or 2 in there, as did Ashanti Strange. Ashanti Strange got her serve going in a couple of games. That jump serve can be deadly, and she had it going a couple times in this tournament. And you look back at maybe the first game of the day, West Hancock, that's probably a game they probably would like to think that they could probably win. They came real close in the second set, kind of got handed a pretty good defeat in set 1. But I think if that comes at the 10 o'clock game, that's a 3-set match and maybe a win for BPC. So 2 and 3 in the tournament. That's a pretty good day for Bushnell Prairie City volleyball. And West Prairie volleyball, we'll talk a little bit about that, I guess, while we got a second. They aren't playing tonight. You might be wondering, why is there not a game? We said there's going to be a game. COVID strikes again. And so, having said that, they are off until Sunday. So they'll be back in time for regional volleyball. So that's, I guess that's just a product of the times, right?
It is what it is.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot anybody can do about it. A coach had it. Was that a wrestling reference?
No, that is just it is what it is.
Oh,
that
okay.
is just.
Well, Miles looked up and shook his head, so I thought maybe it was a wrestling.
Just what those cool kids like to say now. You know, you're still on the hip and rad and yeah, bro.
No, I wasn't that cool when that was cool, and I don't even know when that was cool. Now Miles' dad, on the other hand, he was a big-time Rad fan. So I don't know. That's probably why Miles has his hair like that.
Yeah,
he gets it from his dad.
That 2-tone color flip.
Yep.
Looked like a 68 Camaro.
A 2-tone 68 Camaro. He does not look like a 68 Camaro. He looks more like a gremlin. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Let's get back to sports. But anyway, West Prairie is off until Sunday. That's when they come off of quarantine. They did play Tuesday or Monday night. At Rushville Industry with 7 players. I don't know what 7 players they were, but it was early the next morning. I was told they weren't going to play anymore. So I don't know if some of them got quarantined or if it was just a deal where, this is kind of crazy trying to play with 7 people.
Playing with 7 people in a game like volleyball where you're always moving, always going around, I mean, that'd be hard.
Well, I mean, a lot of teams play just 6, but if you have 7 and 5 of them are front row players –
yeah,
you're in trouble. Or if you have 7 and 6 of them are mostly back row players, you're in trouble. So I don't know what the breakdown was. If anybody could make that work, it would be Coach Paul at West Prairie, but probably thinking better of it, keep the kids isolated, let them get feeling better, and come back. Next week we have a lot of volleyball again. There are 4 nights of volleyball at West Prairie for the regional tournament. Plan is to do all 4 nights of that. There'll be 1 game on Monday, 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday, and 1 on Thursday. Football this week, we're going to have some highlights of last week's games. Football this week, BPC travels to Pawnee on Friday night, and West Prairie travels to Metro East Lutheran on Saturday. That game's a 2 o'clock game because that's the one I got messed up on. Looked at the wrong game. So that's a 2 o'clock game Saturday at Metro East Lutheran. And Pawnee is a 7 o'clock game, I believe, tomorrow night, right, or Friday night. So those games will set up the playoffs. It looks like right now Jake Croxton has been doing a ton of like statistician stuff, sending us all kinds of great stuff. He called that West Prairie would be the last team in. A couple other places, including the Illinois 8 Football Association or 8-Man Football Association, whatever the technical name of it is, they're predicting if West Prairie wins, which they beat Metro East Lutheran earlier this year. If they win by
a lot.
Yeah, by a hefty margin. So if they're able to do that again, Metro or West Prairie will be the 16th seed. BPC, if they cannot beat Pawnee, will be the 15th seed. That's what Jake had told us early in the week in an email, and that's the way it looks like it's going to shape out if everything goes status quo as expected. So these games are really important. Pawnee, you saw Pawnee against West Prairie. They're a pretty physical football team, aren't they?
They are a pretty physical football team. They are really, really good at making just any offensive lineman's night a bad night. Their front three, sometimes even four they brought in, are just great at defending the pass. However, they can be a little emotional at some times. They've had some stupid penalties late in that game, and they were up by almost 60 at that point. They're still getting a little handsy. So I think Bushnell has a shot to really take a chance and beat this Pawnee team that is really good this year from all the other teams they've beaten.
Well, and sometimes those kind of teams, if you can get on them early, it's kind of like, was it last week when at South Fork, when South Fork got back into the game against BPC, Coach Rodis had said that, we need to get on them early and not let them stay in the game. If BPC can get up early or stay in the game and make those penalties matter as the game goes along, that's where that kind of stuff really – if you're up by 60, those penalties don't matter and everybody looks over them. If you're up by 6 or 8 or even 16 with 5 minutes to go and you start making stupid penalties in 8-man football, those penalties suddenly matter a lot more.
One play is all it takes to completely change the game.
So that's where we're at. Now, if things hold the same as they are projected, BPC losing, because Pawnee is one of the top 4 teams, and so they're, that's just the projections. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think BPC is playing much better. I think they'll give Pawnee a much better game than anticipated, and I do think they have a chance to win. But if things hold the same, West Prairie, the 16th seed, will play the number 1 seed Palo, or Polo.
Polo, like, the golf.
But it's P-A-L-O. It's not P-O-L-O.
Oh, well,
it's Palo. I think
everything I've seen said Polo.
That's Palo, I think. It's P-A-L-O. But I think they may still call it Polo, though. At any rate, it doesn't matter. They would be at P-A-L-O, P-A-L-O, wherever that is.
Yep.
And BPC would be at the number 2 seed Milledgeville. So both of those games, I'm guessing, would be Saturday games. I don't know that for sure, but we'll have to shake that out as the time comes and see what happens. But we'll carry both of those games, or at least that is the plan, to carry both of those games also. So still another busy week. We'll have stuff all 5 nights. I think we'll take TSSR Weekly off next week because we do have 2 volleyball games on Saturday in West Prairie, and that means that I'll be over there because Greg might be there on Wednesday. I think he said Wednesday is one of the nights he can be there, but he normally only does West Prairie games, which would be a West Prairie game night, but he would only do one of those games. So I'd be doing the other one. I'm not sure if John can be there and what nights John can be there, and if I can get you to come help, or if I can get Miles. So we'll just take 1 week off of TSSR Weekly, and then we'll come back after what hopefully will be a couple playoff football games and 4 nights of volleyball. So there'll be tons of great highlights.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I cannot wait.
I bet you can't. So as we mentioned earlier, we do have TSSR Weekly's version of First and 10 with Coach Rodis. So we'll step aside, let you hear that, and we'll come back with some highlights in just a few minutes.
Coach, here we are, last week of the season coming in, going to make the 2-hour trip down to Pawnee. Coming off a disappointing loss to Freeport, but Freeport coming in this week as a 5th-ranked team, and I think surprise to a lot of people, you guys had a really good showing. I mean, it was, as we said Saturday, the score really wasn't indicative of how close the game was.
Yeah, no, for sure, and we've been talking about that as being more of a momentum builder. I mean, it may have looked like a loss to a lot of people, but we're using it as we just did some things really good against a team that was really good, and we're seeing it as a chance to take this momentum we got and being able to move the ball, being able to defend and stop the run, and we did a lot of good things. We're going to try to use it as a positive.
I was actually talking to someone this week, and they said, they said something about the score, and I said, we were a few broken tackles and maybe even a couple drop passes away, and that's a completely different game.
Yeah.
As you said, you guys were able to move the ball, you were forcing turnovers, and the defense was making stops. I mean, the first two, you made them go 4 and out after a turnover score to begin the game.
Yeah, no, there's some good things that happened, that we are trying to point out to these guys, and we just got to come back from those things that went bad and come right back and fix it. Not hang our heads, and that's we kind of hung our heads a few times, and we discussed those, and I don't think we'll have that this week.
Well, speaking of this week, as we said at the very beginning, and making it a 2-hour drive down to Pawnee, 6-2 team, and we're coming in at 4-4. And looking at the playoff breakdown, there's going to be a big difference between that 5-4 seeding to the 4-5 seeding. Yeah. What have you discussed with the kids on that?
Well, we talked about, we talked about no pressure about getting into the playoffs. That's already done. We're there. Let's just say we're there. Now it's what kind of playoff experience do you want? We get to determine that and what kind of team we're going to draw on those. Are you going to go in at a 5-4 or a 4-5? Those 4-5 teams are going to be drawing some really good schools. 5-4 are going to be drawing a good school, but not as good as those number 1, number 2 seeds.
Right. I think at the 4-5, you're looking, as you said, like a number 1 through a number 2 seed, maybe a number 3 seed. Or the 5-4, you're going to be playing a middle of the road and a team that you guys, would probably match up better against in an opening round.
Right. And then, though, if you look in it a little deeper than that, your second round, all of a sudden, you might be playing a 5-6 instead of a 1-2. And that could be a big difference in week 2.
And, something that we've seen that I've been looking for, or looking at the standings and stuff, looks like the 2 very bottom teams play each other this week. One of them's going to eliminate the other one. Your friend, Coach McCormick, he wins out. He's in for the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I just sent him a message, and I'm sending him the best of luck, and I'm hoping he gets in there right with us, and that'd be a great thing for West Prairie to be able to do that. So I'm excited for those guys.
Well, Coach, as you're coming into this week, is there anything different that you're preparing for? I mean, are you just treating it as another game, or is this hey, this is kind of a first-round playoff, depending on where we're going to go?
Well, we're definitely going to be preparing the same, but we have some changes we're going to have to make with some injuries, and we're going to have some kids step up and play some stuff that they haven't normally played. But that seems to be our MO. Unfortunately, it seems like every week we're dealing with somebody else that might be out or might be whatever, but we're going to look at some things this week and see if we can fill some holes and make some things happen.
So you've watched Pawnee on film. Last week we talked about Freeport coming in and what you wanted to do, try to maybe stop their run game, force them to pass a little more. Anything you're trying to do in this game with Pawnee that would work to your benefit?
They're going to try to run the ball. They're an 80% run team. They could throw when they need to, but they don't want to. They'd rather run. They're going to be running a lot of trap, a lot of counter tray type stuff where they got 2 guys pulling. We need to step up and stop those plays and make them do the uncomfortable.
Well, Coach, we'll let you get out of here on this Friday evening, or I guess it's Monday evening, and we'll see you Friday evening in Pawnee.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
welcome back to TSSR Weekly Live here at JoJo's Lounge. So a few people here, not talking to us, but there are a few people here tonight playing some slot machines, trying to make a little money.
Yep.
Not as many people playing tonight, not as many dings going on tonight either. There was so many dings last week. If you didn't watch, I was like, my phone's dinging. Why is my phone dinging? And then it took me a few seconds to realize that it was the slot machines, because I never hear that when I do it. So, what do you think about this weekend going into football? First time for BPC and 8-man, looking like they're going to make the playoffs.
I think they've got a really good shot of, at least getting in, maybe even being this Pawnee team, because they're starting to find their stride a little bit more now with their offense starting to get kicked up into high gear. They had the injury to Shane Shin really hurt their offense at week 3 into week 4, week 5. Now they're kind of starting to get the momentum back. They've had Ben Powell's had a couple of great games, as you can see in the next highlights. He had a very good game against Alcuin, or I believe that was Alcuin.
Yeah, Freeport Alcuin.
Alcuin. I accidentally wrote down Altoona every time I was doing highlights, so I knew one of them was wrong. Also, Lane Huffman is still doing really well as the backup freshman coming in playing with the varsity team. The defense is starting to come back too. I think they're getting right into the stride of playing their best football at the end where it really counts.
Well, you had to think that, and West Prairie getting better is not a surprise either. You had to expect that these two teams would get better through the year. The coaches are getting more comfortable. The players are getting more comfortable. They're understanding the cutback lanes and the flow and the pursuit angles and stuff like that. That while the game's the same, the field is different. There's less players. I mean, it's the same length, but it is narrower. So your pursuit angles can be a little different. I mean, and they're learning all that stuff, and I think they're finally coming to grips with getting that all figured out.
Yeah, both West Prairie and Bushnell coming into their best football. West Prairie's last game against Galva, in my opinion, was the best game that they had overall. Wasn't their highest scoring one, but they did a lot of things right, and they kept any mistakes to a minimum. And that passing game that they have with Ashton Barkley, with Eli Leisman, Jensen Laughlin, and Rand Palmer, they're getting pretty dangerous. They're getting dialed in with each other, and I love to see that keep going.
Well, yeah, Coach McCormick through the years has passed a little. A little. So it's kind of fun to watch this, maybe this transition for Coach McCormick a little bit too, and it's for Coach Rodis as well. Is that, they've always been a run, and then throw when you absolutely have to. And now you see both teams kind of throwing when they want to or because they want to, which is pretty fun to see that transition happen. Mm-hmm. So we want to do some highlights?
Yeah, we could do some highlights. I mean, it's what we've got.
It's what we've got. Let's look at the West Prairie game first against
Galva. The Galva Wildcats. West Prairie had a really great first quarter as they started up, as you'll see most of these highlights, in the daylight. First drive, a couple of yards on that rush by Rand Palmer. This is that passing game I was talking about. He gets hit completely, could not see the ball as a man was sitting there, pass interference 100%. Ashton Barkley gets the ball out, and, man, Jensen Laughlin is just sitting there, perfect position.
Let's look at this hit. Look at this hit that Barkley takes right at the end. He stepped right into that throw, and
Palmer on the catch. And, man, it's crazy. He had his hands out. He couldn't see anything and still grabbed it, which after that long play sets up this pass. Ashton Barkley passes to Rand Palmer for the touchdown.
Actually, that was Laughlin. They teased you on that one. I can't get it to pause now.
See,
but
I was talking about this during the game as well. Is 2-5 on, for some reason, always trick me every time. I had written down Laughlin, not Laughlin, but Barkley. Completely fooled me on that one, as Laughlin does play in and switches out.
Barkley takes the snap and then hands off to Laughlin. Mm-hmm. A handoff and then throws it to Palmer. That's like a little razzle-dazzle for you there. And here's a kickoff from Laughlin. He can just boot the ball, can't he?
He can boot the ball. Perfect position as it completely takes the defense off guard. Right behind that is number 18, I believe.
Number 22 on the
That
recovery.
was 18 who missed it. 22, that is Jesse Johnson comes in, sets up this next pass. Long one from Barkley to Laughlin. And that sets up in the second quarter. They were up 20.
Seeing 2 and 5 a lot here, aren't we?
That's their bread and butter. As this one goes out to 2 and 5, Barkley to Laughlin. Another just great pass, great receptions. And this, watch this, just a beautiful punt return. Punter to punter. Laughlin's going to take this one, finds the little cutback hole, has an entire blocking team ahead of him, has two
He
people
just
in front
outran
of
his
him.
blockers.
Has 2 people in front of him, and he stops and shuffles his feet and waits for more blockers to show up, and then he keeps on going for the touchdown.
Yeah, he outran his blockers. He actually outran his blockers and then stopped and waited for his blockers to catch back up right here. Right there, he's outrunning his blockers. You can see him trying to keep up with him. And then he outruns them again, and then he waits for him, and then he waits for him again, and then he cuts behind Palmer, and he's gone for a touchdown. That's a nice run right there. That's some good field vision for Jensen Laughlin.
Laughlin's just getting better every game. And this is another pass from Laughlin, this time to Eli Leisman. Leisman just wide open. He's doing so well at those long. He's their streak man, as I'd like to call it. He is always the downfield Randy Moss style player for him.
Now, let's think back to something here. We saw a touchdown and then a 2-point conversion pass, right, for Laughlin? Or was that first one a touchdown?
2 touchdowns, yep.
2 touchdowns. So everybody remembers back to when BPC and West Prairie played the fresh soft game. Jensen Laughlin was quarterback for that second JV game, and he looked pretty good. And now they're throwing the ball with him and Barkley. That's a two-headed monster that you don't want. I mean, I don't know why anybody'd want to mess with it. Now, they're still learning the game and whatever, but West Prairie is definitely improved.
And Barkley, the sophomore, Laughlin, the junior, they got another year of this coming up. And that entire West Prairie team is so young, as most of their players are juniors and freshmen. Not a lot of senior and sophomores in there, as there's 4. That was senior night, 4 seniors for them.
Well, and the other thing that I think is kind of surprising to me is the growth. I mean, and we talked about it before that highlight pack, but the growth of the passing game and Laughlin and his growth in general. He played last year, but last year was the first year he ever played football.
Yeah.
And so he's playing again this year. That says a lot. That says a lot about how athletic that kid is. So, let's move on to BPC Aquin. This one didn't turn out the way BPC wanted it to, but everybody I talked to said that it was a closer game than the score looked.
It was. Bushnell at the end of the game with our interview with Coach Rodis. Rodis even said we did a lot of good things during this game, as this was about probably second play in. Long fumble recovery. That's Ben Powell, picks it up and just completely takes it down, starts the game off hot. This defense, Bushnell didn't come out soft like we've seen earlier. They came out ready to hit.
That number 20 kid's fast, though.
Mm-hmm. And right there, that was just a beautiful hit. That was Dalton Horwittle. By the time the end of the second quarter came in, Aquin got some offense in, some quick plays. This is the last play of the second half. 2 seconds left, and Lane Huffman's going to take this all the way down to about the 5-yard line and finally get caught by that number 20 like we were talking about. And, man, Chris Frankhauser was so sad that he did not get in, because he called that he was going to try and get around. And this is just Sam Hensley. That's another great pass to Powell. But this was him the entire game. He was sitting there. He had so much time. The offensive line did so well for Bushnell this game that he was just sitting there. He had a lot of time, and then he get mobile.
Well, let's look here. I'm going to pause this. There is nobody within 15 yards of – there's nobody within 15 yards of Ben Powell. Nobody within 15 yards of him. So, obviously, a broken coverage there by Aquin. but the job of Sam Hensley to find that, because that was not his first read. Probably wasn't even a read, really.
No, not really. You could see him go from the left side all the way kind of just around just to try and find them all running. And, Sam's getting a lot better at looking up and finding that man to pass to.
And here's a pass to Jake Brown, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Haven't called his name as much in the last couple of weeks.
Last couple of weeks, I think teams are starting to look at their film a little bit more.
Folks, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but watch the end of this replay. I don't know that he ever got tackled. If he wasn't out of bounds, he could have kept running. He was just sitting on his face mask. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hensley going to get set up, and this just kind of shows the entire of this second half was just Hensley sitting around. If that first and second read wasn't there, he was just going to go and run with it.
He is an athlete, there's no doubt. He's a pretty good interview last week, too.
Pretty good. And right there would be another touchdown. That is to Dalton Huffman, whose name we haven't called for a while, starting to get back into that varsity team, kind of get mixed in a little bit more, and I'll just love to see how he's going to evolve.
Dalton Huffman, a sophomore. Mm-hmm. Lane Huffman, a freshman. So those guys are going to be names that we call a lot for a long time.
Quite a lot.
So
as we can see in the JV games that they've had, quarterback, main running back connection was just amazing between two of them.
So for BPC, we talked a little bit about that. Pawnee this week. A long bus ride again, but they have to get off the bus and for lack of a better terms, hit Pawnee in the mouth right off the bat.
They cannot come off soft against this team. This team is too good to be, coming off and thinking, yeah, we can start getting going around the second half. No, you got to start now.
Right, and Pawnee will keep the throttle down and the foot against your throat, as they like to used to say. They won't let up. They just keep scoring points at the highest rate at which they can. So, should be a good game on Saturday or on Friday night for the Pawnee game. But it's going to take BPC coming off the bus ready to play. Mm-hmm. So we'll move to Saturday's stuff. This is volleyball action for BPC as they got a win early in the day, or their first win was against West Central. There's Courtney Oakman with the kill for BPC. A nice dig by Ashanti Strange, rode for a bump set. And then it's going to be bumped across, and it's just going to fall in. And that was your sister, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought so. And there's an ace.
I had to pick the best one. She had a very good day serving.
She did, you're right. And here's Katie Rodefer with the set, and Janet Lentini, who has really stepped her game up, as we said. She's playing much, much better. And there's Erin Jackson with the tip, as the pass wasn't real good, but she came to the net and got it. There's the pushover, and Jackson with the set. Out to Ashanti Strange for the kill that time. Ashanti had a great game, a great day serving especially. There's a nice dig by Ashanti. She played pretty good defense. And then there's Janet Lentini down to the left side of the defense for the West Central Heat, and BPC got a win over West Central. And I'll tell you what, they have played much better. And Janet Lentini, I think, is the one that I really see as the player that's really stepped her game up. I think Erin Jackson has done some really good things lately as well. Courtney Oakman has taken advantage of some more opportunities that she wasn't getting early in the season. And Elizabeth Gilfillan is opposite of Courtney Oakman, is playing pretty well too. And you can't throw out Taylor Gustafson as well. She has really played well in the back row for BPC and served extremely well. She served so well, in fact, that they've switched the rotation up a little bit to let her serve first. So, she's serving pretty well for BPC. So it's been a good few weeks here as things starting to come together a little bit. It's just too bad they're coming together so late.
And one little thing about that game, I believe that is the first game of the season for the BPC Lady Spartans that has went to 3 sets.
Oh, they went to 3 sets. That was a Saturday game, right?
Yes.
They went to 3 sets on Thursday night.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry that I brought up something cool that I could talk
about. No, you're right, because Miles actually yelled at me. Didn't you, Miles? On Thursday night when BPC went to 3 sets, Miles was not happy with it. He said it was my fault that I jinxed us, because we were talking about the fact they hadn't went 3 sets yet. And what we didn't get highlights of, but we were we wanted to and we talked about and we didn't get done was North Fulton Havana. We got another BPC highlights of their win over A-Town, but North Fulton and Havana played in what turned out to be the championship match, the last game at the high school, and Havana got the win. But Havana was down a couple players late in the day, and that game was really good, and it went 3 sets, and I want to say it was 25-12, 26 or 24-26, and then 16-14. Or no, it was 21-12, 19-21, and then 16-14. So congratulations to Havana. I tell you what, Havana's a good ball club.
They would probably have been the best that we've seen.
Yeah, they've played pretty well outside of Macomb, but Macomb's a 2A school. So, well, let's look at this last session of highlights. The win over BPC in A-Town, or win for BPC over A-Town. And John Reynolds is on the camera this time. And there's an overpass, and Elizabeth Gilfillan, the aforementioned young lady, gets a kill right there. And now Janet Lentini with the block on the far side over there as BPC playing pretty good at the net. Aaron Jackson with us ace as they let it go, and it was right on the line. Let's see if I can pause that. We'll go back and see if I can get that landed right on the line. You think I can do that again?
You didn't go far enough for that.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. That was the second serve, wasn't it?
Just a little bit more. There we are.
Sorry, my fault, folks. He knew what he was talking about. I didn't.
Oh, imagine that.
Oh, I was a little late. I know. Imagine that. Try it one more time. This is the last time, folks. I promise. That was a little early.
Close enough.
But you can see that thing lands right on the line. And then Aaron's going to go back here, as we said, and serve again for BPC. She had a really good game on Saturday. Lentini sets Gilfillan, who gets the kill, as Piper can't get to it. Jackson's going to back set to Lentini, and Lentini is going to go cross court with the kill as on the serve receive. She got the kill from the right side that time. Now Jackson's going to set middle to Courtney Oakman, and down and deep in the right-hand corner. It falls for a kill as well. Now Rodefer is going to set Lentini, and she's going to tip it. Into the net it goes, and she gets a kill for that as well. And that's just a little highlight of what BPC and the volleyball team was able to do against A-Town. You know, sometimes you look at teams and you think, man, they're going to be pretty good. Galva is big, and you just look at them on the football field and you think, man, they ought to be pretty good. But I think that shows a little bit of how size does not translate to 8-man as well as it does to 11-man football.
No.
You look at A-Town on the volleyball court, and they've got some tall girls, and they look like they're going to be pretty good, and they can hit the ball, but their problem seems to be passing the ball, and that was the problem BPC had early in the year. And they've gotten much better at passing the ball and serve receive and trying to at least come close to staying in the system and getting the pass to the setter where the setter can actually do something with it, and so on and so forth. Just A-Town's one of those teams you watch them walk on the floor, and it's kind of surprising that they aren't better than they are. But BPC has played really well against them in both accounts.
I think that BPC is doing well, especially with passing in between each other. And they're just getting more and more as a team, as a unit, playing better overall every game. And I'd love to see what they're going to do in regionals.
Yeah, I hope that they can put a string of things together. They got a game tomorrow night. We'll have that here on TSSR Game Time Live on the Hewlett Public Pro LLC YouTube channel. That's tomorrow night, and then Friday BPC football, Saturday West Prairie football, and then we start regionals on Monday with 2 out-of-area teams playing, and then BPC and West Prairie both play on Tuesday, not against each other, but they both play on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, West Prairie and BPC will play. If they both win, they'll play each other. And then on Thursday's the championship for the regional at West Prairie. And we will plan, as of now, to carry all those games on TSSR Game Time Live. So if you have not, please tell everybody to like and subscribe to the Hewlett Public Pro LLC YouTube channel. We always looking for more subscribers, trying to get those numbers up, and we're going to keep doing this, but we are going to take next Wednesday off from TSSR Weekly as we've got so many things going on, and we want to focus on postseason and postseason volleyball. We may try to throw up a 1st and 10 standalone with Coach Rodis as he prepares for the postseason. And the first postseason for BPC and the first postseason for West Prairie since they separated from BWP. So it is, hopefully everything works out, because it would be kind of nice to see both those teams on their separation year to get into the postseason.
And that's something that I don't think anybody was really expecting for both teams to even be into the playoff hunt, much less looking at maybe even playing at the same time in the same place. Well, not in the same place, but on a Saturday in October.
Right. Well, and I think that after the first week or so with Shane Shin, people expected BPC to be there. When Shane got hurt, I think a lot of people lost the
hype around.
Yeah, the hype around the BPC. But would they have been better with Shane Shin? Yeah, there's no doubt. Shane's a great running back. He's the team leader. But the cool thing about Shane is he's been there the whole time. And he's there for every practice, and he's there for every game. And he's coaching these kids like he's a coach. And his mentality is still there, which I think has helped them a bunch. But I think what people didn't expect is the way that the Ben Powells, the Lane Huffmans, the Dalton Huffmans, and even Sam Hensley as a runner and a thrower would come together and make that team good.
Just that ability and that next man up mentality of now you got into a situation where you've got an opportunity as a sophomore to be starting a varsity, and being able to capitalize on that opportunity and play a little bit better for the entire team. That's just something that you love to see, and you want to see even more of in the next years to come.
Well, and then you look at West Prairie. I don't think that after 3 weeks there was probably 5 people in the state of Illinois outside of West Prairie who thought West Prairie would have a chance to playoffs. I mean, they were beat pretty handily the first couple weeks, and I think that they stayed the course. They learned the game. Barkley has gotten even better. Coach McCormick has gotten to know all the uses that he has for Laughlin, and they're using him. And I think that team has really blossomed. And I think that's a team that maybe they won't beat the number 1 seed in the tournament, but I think that they can. I don't know what they can do defensively, but I think offensively they can do some things because they can throw some things at teams that they maybe, especially if they watch early in the season game tapes, they aren't going to be used to.
Defensively, West Prairie is starting to throw in a bit more of linebacker blitz, trying to show the offenses that they play something different. Rand Palmer and Owen Rigg, the 2 linebackers for West Prairie, both of them are playing excellent ball at this point. On the defensive side, they are got contained. They are always up and looking for that ball, and that helps out the secondary so they can focus on their job. And the front 3 are getting better each and every game of making sure that they can get through the line, like you want to, but also have that back of your head. There's always a cutback lane. There's always a cutback lane, and looking for that cutback to get back and make what should be a 3-yard run, and not a 50-yard reverse to the far side.
And we gave Hensley a hard time last week, telling him that he probably is the all-time leading passer for a single season in BPC history. Barkley probably is the same thing. After a week he had last week, and he's got some receivers that he can trust to throw the ball to now, and those guys are catching the ball in traffic. BPC tends to find open receivers. West Prairie's receivers are catching the ball in traffic. If you can trust your receivers to go get the ball and catch it in traffic, you're feeling pretty good about the way things are working. And then Barkley's sticking in there and just taking some shots as he's throwing the ball too.
And Barkley's getting a little bit better at trusting himself to be a bit more mobile on this side, and that's what I talked to Coach McCormick a couple of weeks ago. He said that, Barkley's getting a lot better as a passer. He's just got to feel that pressure and be able to trust yourself with your legs to get out and find the hole and get upside. And past couple of games we've seen Barkley has been able to accomplish that.
Coach McCormick has always thrown some, and there's some teams that he's thrown more with, but I think that this, you you can go to a lot of clinics, which I know that Coach Roddice and Coach McCormick both went to a lot of clinics. They've done a ton of research, but you can see how much actually playing the game is helping the coaches too, because you learn what your players can do in this scenario of 8-man football, which allows you to then say, okay, I know that these kids can do this in this circumstance, so now we can go do other things. And to see the coaches grow and the teams grow has been a lot of fun. So that's where we're at. Volleyball Thursday with BPC, football Friday BPC, football Saturday with easy for me to say West Prairie. And then regionals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with West Prairie, and then I would imagine 2 more playoff games next Saturday. And they could play on Friday. I'm just guessing, but they may have to play earlier. I mean, there's a chance. I shouldn't even go here, but there's a chance that officials might not be available at certain times, and they may have to take officials when they can get officials. Mm-hmm. So there could be that they have to play on Friday because all the IHSA schools want to play on Saturday, so that officials have to go there first, and so that they have to have available officials for Friday. I mean, I don't know that that's the case by any stretch of the imagination, but we'll see. I saw that Darryl Impinson posted that he's been scoring at WIU for 37 years for women's basketball, or for men's basketball. And he tried to take 4 games off within the week here. He tried to take 4 junior high girls basketball games off because he referees. Couldn't find anybody to take. Couldn't find anybody. So if he can't find anybody, then he's going to have somebody else. And he's been doing this for 37 years, and he's asking for help. So if you love sports and you have time, I know it's a thankless job. I know that people yell at you a lot, but you can just do like me and ignore them. But they do need officials. So if you can find it in your heart to be an official, Darryl or anybody like that that does it would be more than willing to talk to you and try to get you in the right course to do that. And junior high boys and girls basketball is a place to start. Yep. If you like basketball officiating, or they need baseball and softball officials, they need football officials, they need every kind of official, even volleyball officials. So if you're interested at all, I ask that you please do it. Kenny, you should start doing that in all your spare time.
You think? Oh yeah, all the wonderful spare time that I have.
Yeah, all the spare time we have, we should just start doing that. We should train Miles to be an official.
Oh yeah, TSSR official.
Official. No. Well,
you wouldn't have to wear this shirt. You could wear a referee shirt.
You wear a striped shirt instead.
Yeah. It'd match your hat.
Yeah, you'd have to take the hat off and maybe cut your hair. Not going to do it. Well, is there anything else that you can think of we got going on this week?
Really, not that I think.
I don't think so either. I know it's a little shorter this week. We do appreciate you guys watching. We hope that you enjoyed it. We'll have a 1st and 10 next week, but it'll be a standalone. So we'll take a week off of TSSR Weekly, as we'll have all kinds of stuff going on with volleyball next week. And we'll be back the week after that, and then we'll get ready for basketball.
Cannot wait.
I cannot wait either. Boys and girls basketball, high school variety for BPC and West Prairie all be carried here on TSSR Game Time Live, presented by MDH on our Hewlett Public Pro LLC YouTube channel. This has been TSSR Weekly here at JoJo's Lounge and Gaming Parlor in Bushnell, Illinois. Come win some money and show them some support for supporting not only our TSSR Weekly, but, of course, they're a pre-game and post-game sponsor for TSSR Game Time Live. So a lot of great stuff going on. Hopefully it continues to build and we continue to keep it working. So for Kenny Suter, for Miles, who is still behind the camera, we have not figured out a way to get him in front of. I'm Dwayne Hewlett. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night on TSSR Game Time Live, presented by MDH, live from Bushnell Prairie City High School.